and my career choices contribute to my selection of a marriage partner. Now, I know the eyes, they play a big part in selecting a marriage partner, and they should, if you can see. And the appetite and the desires, they also play a big part, and they should, if you have sensitivity and you can feel. But you know, the eyes can deceive you, and the passions, they only last a little while. And when you move past that hour in a shower, you feel me? You understand what I'm talking about. When you move past that hour in a shower and the reality sets in that you're going to be with this person, hopefully, prospectively, the rest of your life, then you're going to see, I should have really thought about this here. And that's why in the Muslim world, we're not talking about the non-Muslim world, 2 out of every 7 marriages end in 180 days. 4 out of 7 marriages end in 3 or 4 years. So you need to ask this question over and over. How will my moral convictions, what I really believe inside myself, the parameters that I have set for myself, the values and the principles that I have ingested, that I say that I represent, and then my career choices, how does that really contribute to my selection of a marriage partner, and how does that contribute to what you're talking about on Facebook? And those of you who's using those 3G, 4G devices in a very perverse, provocative way, ask yourself, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You need to ask these questions, because if you don't, you're already making that move in that Ferrari. You come around that curve doing 150, 170 miles an hour. And then when you press on the brake, guess what? It's not there. What you're headed for? A bad decision. Is my Islamic education on par, in parity with my academic pursuits? You know, I'm crunching for this here, this test I got to take, my finals. You know, I'm just going through all these books and answering all these questions and staying up all night long and drinking coffee and smoking shisha, hubbly bubbly, and hanging out with my friends and turning those pages. And I'm just, going through all this here. But am I diligently getting up for the Fajr prayer? Am I reading Quran? What do I know about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If I needed to give a talk extemporaneously, that means like without no preparation about Islam, the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and integrate that with the values and realities of the world today, and just extemporaneously without any preparation, I had to give a presentation to 500 people. Could I do it? The answer is, most of you, absolutely not. Because your Islamic preparation is not in par with your academic pursuits, because these academic pursuits is based upon your attraction to the bling bling. You know, all these fancy cars you see on all these here billboards, and all those fine women with them eyelashes about 6 inches long, you know what I'm saying, and all those movie stars, selling chocolate bars, movie stars selling chocolate bars. You know, when you buy that computer, it's got to be slick, got to be nice, got to be curvy, sweet. This is how the marketing got you. So you want all those nice things. You want the house, you want the car, you want the sweetie, you want the honey, you want the money. You want a good life. But by the time you leave, you stumbling on the Fatiha. Find out you have made Fajr in 6 months. And you just kind of like making 2 salats a day and trying to make them all up at one time. And after you find out you owe so many, you say, well, later. That's it. Allah knows best. Allah knows best about what's going on. And that's it. You're gone. It's done. Stick the fork in them. Turn them over. Barbecue is done. You have to ask these questions for yourself now. Because if you don't ask these questions for yourself now, then you're going to get stuck between the ideality and the reality. What are my dreams? And everybody has a right to dream. What are my vision? What does I really want? I've fashioned for myself. But what are your actual experiences? Because dreams, they do come true. But guess what? They're built day by day. And if you're not living your dream day by day, and you didn't write your dream down, guess what? You ain't living no dream. You think you are until you meet the reality and you find out and you wake up, it's a nightmare. Hello. what's the distinction between my culture that my mom and dad gave me, that the society gave me, that the university gave me, that I experience when I go into all these beautiful masjids? You know, the culture, that means, you know, the default environment that I was born in and connected to, some of which is good and some of which is not good. Some which is based on Islam and some that's based upon the stone cold foolishness and nobody explains it. It's just something that we do because we was born in a certain place. What's the distinction between my culture that I know about, that I've been practicing, that's being reinforced every day, and my worldview? Have I developed a worldview? And shame on you. It's a tragedy that you don't have a worldview when fiber optics and telecommunications have given you access to information just like that from all over the world. How long would it take me to understand, okay, the parameters and the scope of the world that we live in, whether it be in miles or minutes? How long would it take me to understand how many cultures and subcultures? How long would it take me to understand, you know, what is a transnational corporation as opposed to a local business? How long would it take me to understand, you know, all the various religions and influences and philosophies of the world that we live in today? How long would it take me to understand all of that in the context of myself and the society that I live in and the world that's at my fingertips? These are questions you have to ask yourself. What about the distinction between my family, my grandmother and grandfather, my mom and dad, my siblings, my cousins, my extended family, and the new family that you're headed towards? Because most of you sitting in this room right here, 3 years from now, you're going to have 1 or 2 children. Hopefully, if you don't marry, if a man don't marry a man and a woman don't marry a woman, y'all going to have some children. Because, you know, when I have to talk about the same gender marriage, which is like, you know, supposed to be like a controversy, you know, it's like a controversy. You know, when somebody says, that's the sky, this the earth, and this the sky, you know, that's just crazy. They keep saying, that's the earth, and this the sky. You better leave them because you understand that the elevator don't go all the way upstairs. But they keep saying it, and they create a rhetoric about it. After a while, they start justifying it, and it starts sounding like, well, it might be. So I always ask, you know, the people who's trying to create these new nuclear families, they call them, you know. People even having in Europe, you know, in Europe, in Tokyo, and in Amsterdam, they having sex with androids. They saying like, hey, this is progressive. Because the android, you know, you plug it in, you know, you can, by solar energy, it run off of solar energy or some other kind of energy, and it talk like a man or a woman. You know, I mean, it can stroke you, it can take you a bath and shine your shoes and cook your food. And if it talk too much, you just put it back in the closet. So women is opting to marry an android because he ain't going to beat her up. He's not going, you know, he ain't going to marry another wife. He's not going to disrespect her. She can get all the pleasure that she wants, and she don't have to pay nothing except one time. Just pay for the android. And men, they're opting to marry android women because they say, you know, I can get the pleasure without the STDs. I can get the pleasure without the drama and the trauma. And if you're saying to Sheikh, come on, Sheikh, you're going a little bit too far now. You better check your Google Gaggle Giggle because it's already happening. This is the world that we're living in. What kind of family do you really want, and what kind of family do you really have? And what about your new family? What are your new aspirations? What are you going to do for them in this changing, challenging world that we live in? And you know, when the people say that same gender marriage is just like marriage. Come on, they're just human beings. You know, so I say, okay, marriage is based upon procreation. So I want to know how Betty and Barbara, I want to know how they're going to have a baby. Well, they say, well, that's easy. One of them just buys some sperm off the internet from somebody they don't even know and just inject it, and she get pregnant, and then they got a baby. So what's the rights of the baby? Where the baby come from? Where the baby's father? So when that baby grows up, when Betty and Barbara have that baby, and the baby's name is Belinda. So who's Belinda's father? And she got a right to ask for it. And when she go to school, she be saying, I want you to go come and meet my mom and mom. You know, and then Steve, you know, Steve and Bob, they get married. So I wonder how they gonna have a baby. I mean, they ain't got no womb. So they said, well, that's easy. They just find a surrogate woman and pay her $5,000 or $10,000, have her to sign some papers, you know, put the sperm inside her from one of them. When she got a baby, separate her from the baby. She can't see that baby no more. And then Bob and Steve take the baby home. And when the baby grow up, his name is Johnny. So Johnny, when he meet Belinda, he say, I want you to come home and meet my dad and dad. So I'm not going to take it no further because, you know, I don't want to, like, you know, be just like hammering the issue that's like a controversy. But y'all can feel what I'm saying. I tell them, listen, it's Adam and Eve, yo. It ain't Adam and Steve.